Yo, what's up guys? This is Derp here with another Baldurs Gate 3 video. So you think you want to be a cleric? You want to heal the rest of your party? How do you build your character? Let's find out. So the first screen you see when you get into character creation is going to be your origins. You can pick one of the, I think it's Shadowheart is actually a cleric. So you can play as a NPC that you will pick up later if you want to just go with a pre-built cleric. It might be just the easiest way to do it if you want to roleplay as a character, as a cleric, and you don't really care too much about power gaming. That might be a good option. But if you want to start a custom character and you want to go down the power gaming route, you're going to want to name your character, and then you want to pick your background. So Acolyte's pretty decent because you get insight and religion proficiencies. So what this is going to do is it's going to boost any rolls that go off of insight or proficiency. You're going to get boosted rolls there. You can see all of your proficiencies on the left hand side, as well as your race, your class, your subclass, and your deity, and then your ability scores and your cantrips. So this is kind of an important, just all of your important information goes here on the left. Your background is going to give you 2 proficiencies, and when you change it, it'll switch here. Acolyte, Guild Artisan's pretty good too because you get insight and persuasion. Noble's also good because you get persuasion and history. If you're going more combat focused, or you want to do like a damage dealing cleric, or maybe a tank cleric, you might want to pick up Outlander because it's athletics and survival. Then Sage is also really good because you have Arcana and history. Soldier is also good for like a tanky cleric. So my pick would probably be Acolyte or Sage. Arcana is just really good, but if you have a wizard in your team, you don't really need it because they usually have Arcana proficiency. So it really depends on what you want to do. If you want to do a tanky cleric, I would do probably either Soldier or Outlander. And then if you want to do just a caster support role, I would go with Acolyte. It's not a huge, it's more of a RP element and with some slight proficiency bonuses, but Acolyte's pretty decent because insight's going to be used a lot, and so is religion. So then for your race, if you look over here on your ability scores, it shows you that wisdom is your key attribute. Your main attributes are going to be strength, constitution, wisdom, and charisma is also pretty helpful. But mostly wisdom and constitution for casting, and then if you're going to go damage, you're going to want strength, con, and wisdom. Dexterity can help you, but you're usually going to be wearing heavier armor, so it's not as big of a deal. There are a few classes. Humans always a good choice for almost any class, because they're pretty well balanced. They have +1 to every attribute. Half-elf is also pretty good, because they come with +2 charisma, which is pretty decent for clerics. It makes it so this character can be like the face of your party, a decent tank, and a caster. And then you get to pick 2, so you could put them into like Constitution and Wisdom, right? So you have +1 Constitution, +1 Wisdom, +2 Charisma. It's just a really good choice. And then if you're going this route, I would either do, if you do the high elf, half elf, you could pick cantrips, and this will let you pick from like True Sight or anything else. So it'll save you. You'll get an extra cantrip. But yeah, you could pick any of those cantrips, or you could do the Wood Elf Half Elf, which is going to give you higher movement speed and better stealth. So even if your character has low dexterity, you should be able to use stealth pretty effectively and sneak in and out of combat. Another good race is the Dwarf, the Gold Dwarf, because they have +2 Constitution, +1 Wisdom. They also have Dwarven Toughness, which increases your hit points by 1 and you get an additional hit point every time you level. And they also have a lot of weapon and armor proficiencies. So, and the Constitution is just really good. And then Dwarven Resilience is also super good, and it gives you advantage on saving throws against poison, and you have resistant to poison damage. Shield Dwarf is also good if you want to go more damage focused, because it gives you 2 +2 con, +2 strength. But I would probably do Gold Dwarf. Tiefling's pretty decent because you have intelligence and bonus, and you have charisma, and then they have pretty good. So they have hellish resistance, so you take less fire damage. They have really good dark vision. But yeah, my main 2 would probably be the human or the gold dwarf, or the half elf those would be my top 3. I would stick with Gold Dwarf just because Constitution and the Wisdom is really good, and they have Dark Vision. Appearance, you pick whatever you want. It's not going to really affect anything. And then you go with your class and your subclass. So we're Cleric. Now, Clerics specialize in buffing, debuffing, and they can spec into damage and a little bit of like trickery, like combat management with like traps and stuff like that, and illusions and stuff. But if you want to go straight healer, I would go with Life Domain, and they have all kinds of deities that you pick, and this is actually important because if you don't follow your deity and make choices that align with your deity and your alignment isn't really aligned with your deity, it actually impacts your character. So with Cleric and Paladin, it's actually super important to play according to your oath or your deity, and it adjusts what cantrips and stuff that you have available. So Lathander for healer is really good because it's basically the life deity. Tempest is the combat, so if you want to go more battlefield, like more damage or tanky, I would say Tempest is good. Bane is also more for damage, but it's also an more evil god. So I would go with Lathander for healing, and then if you want to go more combat, I would go with Tempest. So for cantrips, if you're going Tempest, you're not really going to have access to, you're going to have mostly access to battlefield stuff. So I'm going to go with Lathander because I'm going to be healing. So it doesn't really change much, but resistance is really good. Guidance is pretty much a must. So if you can only pick 3, you're going to want guidance. Light is okay. Resistance is really good. Sacred Flame is also damage. So if you want to do more damage, you kind of have to pick Sacred Flame. But Thaumaturgy is also really good because it gives you advantage on your intimidation and performance checks. So you could cast this on the face of your party, or if that's you could cast it on yourself to gain advantage on your intimidation and performance checks. But if you don't really care about the dialogue options, I would pick Sacred Flame or Light for extra damage or to illuminate darkness. There are some enemies that can be hindered by darkness, so that can be helpful. But I do care about the RP elements, so I'm going to take Thaumaturgy. And then your prepared spells. For healing, you kind of want Guiding Bolt because that's one of your only form of damages. If you don't care about damages at all, I would take Healing Word. I would take Shield of Faith, Protection from Good and Evil, and then probably Guiding Bolt because it does damage and it grants an advantage on the next attack roll against that target. So if whoever attacks after you hit them with a Guiding Bolt, they get advantage. Bane is also really good because they receive a negative 1d4 penalty to all attack rolls and saving throws. So if you're going to give something up, I would probably get rid of Protection from Good and Evil and take Bane. If you want to go for more damage oriented, I would probably take Healing Word, Guiding Bolt, Inflict Wounds, and then Command, because you can tell them to flee, move closer, freeze, drop to the ground, or drop their weapons, which eats up their actions. So that's kind of Battlefield Manipulator and Healer. If you want to go pure damage, you could get rid of Healing Word and go Inflict Wounds, Guiding Bolt, Command, Bane. That would be all Battlefield Manipulation and damage. So it's really up to you and how you want to play. Clerics are pretty versatile, but most people want to be healer, so I would go like a healer and protector. So the standard build is probably going to be Healing Word, Protection from Good and Evil, Shield of Faith, and Guiding Bolt is what I would go with. And then you have all your list of spells right here. You have your 2 spells right here. So you have Cure Wounds. So this is from your domain. These are your domain spells. So you have Bless and Cure Wounds. So you don't really need to take Cure Wounds here if you're going Lathander, because you already have it. It'll give you an extra casting of this. So, but you'll always have one. So this will give you an extra Cure Wounds, and then this will give you Bless as well. So you could, if you want to be kind of cheesy, you could get rid of this and maybe take Bane. Because then you'll still have... You'll have Bless, Cure Wounds. The problem is that you won't get extra Cure Wounds. And then if you're going the combat and you go Tempest, it'll still be Bless and Cure Wounds. But you'll also get Heavy Armor Proficiency, Disciple of Life, and Domain spells. So there's Light Domain, which is more, if you look down here, your domain spells are going to be Burning Hands and Fiery Fire, and then you get Light as a cantrip. You get Warding Flare, so use your reaction to impose disadvantage on an attacker. And then you have Trickery Domain, which gives you Charm and Disguise Self, and then you also get Blessing of the Trickster. Getting advantage on stealth checks. For skills, you want to take... Instead of History, I would take Persuasion, so I'd have Insight, Medicine, Persuasion, and Religion, because I have a decent Charisma score. And then for ability scores, I'm going to lower my Strength to probably 10, because I don't really care about tanking or doing damage. I'm going to be mostly healing. So I'm going to max out my Wisdom, I'm going to max out my Constitution, and I'm going to max out my... So you want to stick to even numbers, so 12, 16, 10. So then you could upgrade that to 10. And then just dump an extra one into whatever you want, probably Strength. So now you have 12 Charisma. You can even drop this down to 10 and bump this up if you want to be more combat focused. But I'm going to stay out of combat a little bit and keep my character a little bit more well-rounded. So I have 16 Constitution, 16 Wisdom, 16 Charisma, and that's about as high as it'll go. I could bump my Charisma up to 17, but there's not really any point because my bonus stays at +3, whether I'm at 16 or 17. So I'm going to round these all out to 10. So I have +0 and everything. I have maxed out my Constitution and my Wisdom at 16. And then if you want to leave this at 17, go ahead. And then you can put your last one into something. But I'd probably do this at 12. So 12, 9, 17, 10, 16, 10 would be what I would pick. Or you could drop this down into Charisma if you want to worry more about dialogue. And then from there, you just go to Venture Forth, pick your love interest, your like starting love interest, who you dream of and who attracts you. This is more of like an aesthetic choice and a dialogue choice. It doesn't really affect how well your character performs. But yeah, that's about it. You have a wonderful day.